All right, so welcome everyone, and thanks for being with us today for our MicroAge Talks Technology webinar. My name is Maria Fiore. I'm the Director of Operations for MicroAge, and I'm joined by Sergio Lima, who's Director of Customer Success at MicroAge. Welcome, Sergio, and good to have you back.
Hello, great to be back. Hello, everyone.
So in today's hyper-connected and increasingly AI-driven world, having the right cybersecurity measures to identify, protect, and detect cyber incidents, which we refer to as left of boom, a term borrowed from the military, is essential. Today's presentation will focus on exactly these measures and that Sergio will take us to. Just before we begin, here are a couple of housekeeping notes. First, attendees are all muted to reduce any background noise, and I'm sure you've all noticed that already, but we also encourage you to ask questions throughout the presentation by using the questions panel of the webinar tool. The webinar is being recorded and a link will be sent to you a little later today. In the same email, you will also receive a link to download the ebook we are making available. We encourage you to take advantage of these resources and share the links with colleagues that may benefit from today's information. Lastly, at the end of the webinar, you will be receiving a short 3-question survey to gather your feedback. Please take a moment to share your feedback with us so that we can improve future webinars. So before Sergio gets started, I'm going to take a moment to give a brief overview of who we are for those who may not know us. So MicroAge is a Canadian technology service provider with 40 locations across Canada. We've been providing IT services and solutions to our clients for close to 45 years. We believe in being a partner to our clients, and to be that partner, our approach is to understand your organization. We want to understand your operations, your clients, your people, your goals, your challenges, your opportunities, all of that, so that we can, again, understand your organization, and that helps us recommend and provide the IT services and solutions that are right for you. That's a quick overview of who we are and how we engage with our clients. And with that, Sergio, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Maria, and welcome to everyone. And as Maria mentioned, today we are looking at what we call left of boom. There's left and right. Military term with regards to everything you can do in a proactive measure. Before the big bang, attack, boom, whatever you may call it. In our world, it's before a cyber incident. So anything you can do to limit your risk, to mitigate before you have to mitigate. This is what we're talking about. It's a part 1 of 2-part webinar. The next one will be next month, I guess, for us. It's a part 2, which will be talking about the right side, what to do, in the event of a cyber incident. But today we're going to look at, what's on the left side: data, people, perimeter, network, and endpoints. There's a lot of things you can put in place proactively to ensure that you don't have to get to the right side. And the most important part of that is really is the big circle where it says your organization, is the governance and the compliancy. And what that means really is it's the core of what you should be putting in place before you even look at any of the other solutions. It's the fact that you may be in an industry where you have to be compliant or go by regulations. You may have requirements from your clients, from your partners, to be up to par with certain solutions within your network so that you're not a risk to them. And it's similar to what we do with our customers, where we don't not necessarily impose them, but we tell them you need to get to this speed, otherwise you become a risk for me as an MSP. And we don't want to get to that point really, because obviously if you get hacked, it may come through the pipes to us, and so that's not something that we really want to work with. And it should be the same mindset for you as a customer with your customers and your partners, where you want to try and limit the amount of try and manage whatever you can right within your environment. So there's the regulatory compliance, there's the obligations with clients and partners, there's specifically, most importantly, also the cyber insurance requirements. So if you're shopping for some cyber insurance requirements, there's a lot of mandatory options and solutions you have to put in place. And a lot of them ask that question, what's your policy on governance? What's your policy on compliancy? Have you documented all of that? Do you know where your data is? Can you show me in a documented format, in a structured format, not just telling me that it's on a server or it's in the cloud, but do you have something in place that actually says this is the security I've put in place to protect me in the event of a cyber incident? That's pretty much what we're looking at, right? I'll stay here just a bit. So again, this is very pertinent to companies that are wishing or wanting to go into the AI space, specifically because what you'll get now is if you don't have this in place and you haven't put any of the security measures to control your data, you may have employees, using something like Copilot within your environment. Employee needs to present something with a presentation and asks for some information regarding your own company, and it just canvasses your entire network and comes back with all kinds of nice goodies for this employee who maybe also didn't know it, but now has access to all the salaries and numbers and information that you don't necessarily want this person to have, didn't know they have. But unfortunately with AI, what it does is it actually goes to collect everything it can within your network. And then you also want to contain that, because you don't want your AI grabbing this information and possibly bringing it outside of your network into public and everybody else and other AI solutions tacking onto that, and then your information ends up all over the place. So that's the goal, why we call it the core.
And governance has always been important, but like you said, because of AI, because of working with third parties, right? You were
Yeah.
talking about we hear that more and more about third parties requiring, what are your security policies? What are your data policies? We want to understand, who has access to what. We want to understand what kind of data you have that we're giving you and stuff like that. But with AI and with that kind of requirement, it's becoming essential. You have to have some kind of governance and the right policies in place, right?
Yeah. So it's no longer, yeah, my data's on this server. It's, who has access to it, um, how
How
is
do
it
you limit
protected,
access?
how
Yeah.
are you limiting the access, who's accessing it, the permissions on all of that, what software, what systems are you accessing it, what type of information you have to identify, tag it, etc. Because some info may be, not important, and some may be extremely important, like intellectual
Well, you're
property and stuff like that. So you have to
exactly.
identify all of that, and you do get some of those questions with some of the insurers when they want to give you cybersecurity insurance. So it's important to know and document what you find and what you have. It goes along side by side with identity and access management, because obviously in doing this exercise, you'll probably end up seeing that you may have too many people or too many departments looking at information that they shouldn't be looking at. So it's a good exercise to run for you to be able to clean up and do that hygiene of your data and access management to ensure that the right people can see the right data, and it doesn't go any further than that. Why? Because if you do get hacked and it's a simple user that doesn't have much access, but the cyber criminals can actually leverage that, elevate themselves, and then go collect all of that information. So it's very important to try and contain and limit the access to all of this data. So the first thing you should be doing, if we're talking about data, is backup segmentation. Not to be confused with network segmentation. The backup segmentation would be to isolate, separate or your backup solution from your existing network. I'm not saying to put it in another building. I'm just saying on the network side, you have to put measures in place to avoid a hacker from coming in and going straight to your backup software and turning off the sessions, deleting all the sessions, going to your offline or your offsite backups, your replications, deleting all that data or encrypting it, because usually that's the first thing they do. They'll get in, wait a long time, typically 120 to 180 days in your network, have a little fun, won't do any damage besides turn off a lot of backup stuff, so that when you get to the right of boom, well, you don't have any data to return to, and you have no choice but to, work with them. Use that term loosely, because you have to give them what they want, right? So you have to pay to get it back, and then you're not sure if it's still out there, if they come back, etc. So the important part is to look at some backup solutions that offer that and speak to your managed service provider. Make sure that the backup solution is segmented from your regular network. Just makes it harder for the hackers to get in and try and do that right off the bat. The goal is to, you'll see that in the next slides, the goal is to um, put hurdles in front of cyber hackers so that it takes them longer to do that, because once they're in, they're still going to do something. Uh, but you want to take it, you want it to make it difficult for them, so that we'll talk about the rest of the solutions, so that the rest of your security solutions will hopefully find that before they actually do damage. And in your backup management, again, make sure someone's watching those backups. Make sure you have alerting, reporting, notifications. Ensure that if you're adding new systems and data, make sure that they're being backed up. Run regular tests, so restore files, folders on a regular basis to ensure the validity of the data. Make sure it's not, make sure there's nothing wrong with it. If you're doing offsite replication, obviously make sure that the replicated files are still working. And that gives you, the advantage of being able to restore. And I mean, the likely event is usually a user that deletes a file or a folder. So you want to be able to restore that quickly so that there's no downtime. But the ultimate goal is, if ever something were to happen to your environment, you have a plan B to come back to. Now, we've been preaching this for many years. It used to be 321 and now it's 32110. Make sure you have always 3 distinct copies of your data. The first copy is your production data, which is always in use, and 2 other copies of that data. So those 2 other copies will need to be on 2 separate media. So it could be a storage device, a network storage device, an external drive, a cloud replication. You have to have 2 other versions of that. So what we've seen so far is production data. On the network, you have a NAS box, a storage box, where that's your second copy. And then there's a backup solution that is somehow replicating that outside of your office space or outside of your network. And that's your 3 copies. So one of them needs to be offsite. So if you're replicating into the cloud or to a secondary site, that's good. That's what the offsite copy means. And then the other one is an offline copy, which is usually a backup that is done from time to time using a system that will be able to back up your data and completely cut off from your network. So a lot of SaaS providers do that on the back end. You don't see it. If you're ever looking for SaaS solutions, just make sure that they're doing that. And what it does is it just runs that snapshot, turns off connectivity, because the first thing that's going to happen if a cyber criminal comes into your environment, he will get rid of the first 3 digits. So your 321 will go out the door because he can have access up to that point. So you always want to rely on some kind of a immutable or air-gapped backup as your, the only way back from complete disaster. And the 0 represents no errors. So going back to managing your backup, just ensure that whoever's managing your backup sees the alerts, sees the reports, ensure that all of the sessions that are being backed up, that there's no errors. And if there are any errors, that they're addressed as quickly as possible, obviously, because the longer you wait, the less versions of backups you'll have. And if something were to happen today and your last good backup was 7 days ago, well, you have to revert to 7 days ago. So it becomes a bit of a problem. So let's look at the people now. So people are your biggest vulnerability, your weakest link, as we say in our other webinars. You can put all the security solutions in place. The only problem is your employees are your door into, your employees are actually opening the door for cyber criminals to come in via phishing. A good percentage of cyber attacks are still stemming from an employee that happens to click on something that leads them to a fake address, fake link that asks them to enter their credentials, and they enter their credentials, and the next thing you know, someone's in their environment, probably camping in there for a while and then wreaking havoc for the next several weeks or months. So the goal is to really leverage your people or instill awareness, vigilance, to train them. It's a 2-phased approach. There's phishing simulations. So we send emails that are fake over to your employees in the hopes, or not hoping for them to click it, because if they click it, then we have to fix that. But the hope is to send test them with some phishing templates, and hopefully they'll learn from the part two of that program where we actually provide training. So you have to train your employees. You can't just tell them not to click on something. They won't know any better. You have to obviously educate. And the cyber awareness training and phishing platforms and programs that are out there are pretty good. They do a good job, and it's by repeating that eventually you can leverage your people as another security solution within your security stack in your network, because right now it is the weakest part of your security infrastructure.
The good news, though, I think, Sergio, we've been doing this for a while, and we're just seeing people who do, offer the training and the phishing simulations and all of that stuff. They do learn, and they do learn
Yeah,
to ask questions, and not click on an email just because it came in, right?
yeah,
And yeah, so we're seeing that's the good news. But
yeah, yeah.
the
The nice
especially with
part is,
AI, they're getting a
yeah,
lot better. So
the
sometimes
nice
I
part is,
wonder,
well, that's the thing, eh? With AI, that's what's going to happen now. There's going to be AI all over the place doing this for the hackers. So they're pretty much sitting on their chair and just watching. But yeah, the goal is that you have to be ready for this because it will happen. And it's nice to see, when you do this exercise with customers as the years go by, their level of awareness raises. So you can't fish them with standard templates. You got to tweak them. And we speak to our
right?
customers and say, you know what, you're dealing with this bank. We're going to build a nice email that looks like a bank email, but it's not really one. So, we try and bring them up to a higher standard of non-clickers
Yeah,
and awareness. That's the goal.
that's the goal. Yeah.
So password acts, let's skip it. Let's do MFA first, because I have a couple of tables to show you for passwords. MFA is now well, it now has been a second layer of identification verification for a while now. The problem we've seen is that a lot of companies implement 2FA, but not across the board.
Mm.
So, for example, you'll have 5 employees connecting VPN into your network. And yes, I have MFA, so we're safe. But you have 25 other employees that are all using M365, the whole Office suite, that can work from home. No need to, no need to connect VPN into the office. They're pretty much connecting directly to the Microsoft tenant. And if they were to click on one of those emails and give access to some of the cyber hackers they will just go into your tenant and elevate themselves and wreak havoc and start sending emails and start encrypting and change them, themselves to an admin and cause a lot of problems within your tenant. So you can't really close 2 of your 5 doors with MFA. You need to do it across the board. I mean, a pretty simple concept, but it's just, I think it's more sensitization. We have to, everybody needs to be aware that you can't just say, well, I have VPN users and they're protected with MFA, but that's not it. You have SaaS applications. So you may have a CRM, you may have an ERP, it's web-based. Um, go into that portal, look at the MFA options you have, activate them. That's another way that they use to get in. So again, they have tools that can allow themselves to get into your network in different ways. So obviously you have to close every single door in that house so that they don't get in.
No matter how painful it is, we all
Yeah,
have the
yeah.
MFA fatigue, but it's an extra layer, right, of protection, and whether we like it or not, we
Cybersecurity
got to get
is
used to
not
it.
convenient. Yeah,
No, no, there's nothing convenient about it.
unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then talking about being inconvenienced, how about changing your passwords?
Oh man.
So
How many
Microsoft,
passwords do you have? I don't know. I have like over 80 or 90 of them. I don't even know.
yeah, well, thankfully we have a password manager, that third point there. So, but yeah, there's a lot of passwords now. I know Microsoft still does the recommended 8-character, lowercase, uppercase, special character, and a number as the minimum. But I'll show you a couple of tables, and I'll show you what the trend is happening with that. We recommend 12 plus characters. Uh, why? Because we don't want to just get to, if you're at 5, 6, 7 characters, let's say, uh, if you're making that change, don't change to 8. Just go to 12. Because the landscape is evolving and declining, I guess, and the protection is going down and then it's going back up. It changes every single time. Okay. So for example, if you were to have 7 characters completely on the right-hand side. Numbers, upper, lowercase, letters, symbols, you name it, okay? 7 characters within a month of cyber hackers in your network. Even worse if you have like 6 or 5 characters. So it's very important to go at least to the 8, but obviously I'm recommending the 12. The 8 gives you 7 years, but that's 7 years today. So in about a month or two from now, this comes from Hive Systems, and they do these tests all the time. In a couple of months, you'll probably see the 7 go down to 4 or 3 or 2, and maybe half a year from now, it'll probably go down to a month. It depends on the tools that the cyber hackers are using. It also depends on all of the vendors and SaaS and manufacturers, what they're building, operating systems, what they're building in terms of protection. So it fluctuates. So to give you an example, we've been in decline for the past many years. We've shown this grid, and it's gone down, whereas the cyber hackers have developed tools so sophisticated that it's quicker for them to get into your network. So now the vendors and manufacturers had to ramp up all of their way to encrypt and hash and protect their systems. So we were at a decline where it was just scary to see the days, months, weeks, whatever. But what's happening now? This is 2025. If I were to take again the 8-character one, right? We went from 7 years to 164 years. So why did that go up instead of down? The reason is a lot of the vendors now have developed different ways for encrypting and hashing up your passwords and access, etc. So finally, we've caught up to the cyber hackers, but it doesn't mean that we're going to get any better, because obviously they have the same, they're working on evolving their technology. So it could go up to 164, but in 6 months from now, it might come back down to whatever number that is. So it's a fight all the time. It's an up and down graph that we have to keep on, hoping that it doesn't drastically change from year to year. And that's one of the reasons why I always recommend to go to 12 characters, because, I think we're safe for several
It's harder.
million years, let's say. And
It's a
the
cat
only
and mouse
difference,
game,
again,
right? That's a
yeah,
cat and mouse
exactly.
game.
And the biggest difference also between 2024, if I go back, there's a yellow writing there. So the hardware that Hive Systems was using, and not to be technical, they were using specific hardware, and they were using hash, which is the level of encryption, how passwords are encrypted and they're hashed. They were using MD5 technology, and now a lot of the vendors, or most of them, are now using bcrypt. And last year's bar was at 5, bcrypt level 5, and now it's at bcrypt level 10. So again, we're the vendors and all of us, we're trying to one up the cyber hackers so that we can be
Stay
protected.
ahead. Yeah, stay ahead.
So how do you fix that right off the bat? Perimeter. Um, when I talk about perimeter, I mean you're looking at firewalls, spam filter, dark web penetration tests. So your perimeter is, between your internal network and your external threats. Obviously, it's anything, any door, let's say doors, windows, you name it, whatever you want to call it. Firewalls is your first thing, right? Not a router that comes from your internet provider, but a real firewall as unified threat management, something that encompasses categories and filtering and some form of anti-spam and some form of antivirus. That's what a UTM firewall, next gen firewall does. So it's the entry point, right? Let's call that the door. How's that? And then you have spam filter, which obviously protects your users from receiving any spam. Again, if you don't have one, or assume that Microsoft's free Defender or free anti-spam solution is covering it for you, not really, unless you have the higher licenses with Microsoft and have implemented it. Very important phrase, because you may have the license, you still have to implement it. If you don't have that, then you're susceptible to receive more spam. And remember, we need to protect ourselves at 100% of the time. Cyber criminals only need to get in once, and the minute they get in, it's a mess. Then another way you can be more proactive is more with dark web monitoring. It's not really a tool that'll stop hackers from getting in, but what's nice about it is if you have employees that have login access to their personal, let's say, Bell. You have a Bell account, but you're using your office email address as your login to your Bell account to do your invoicing and paying your bills.
First of
Well,
all, change that policy. Don't allow that, but go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. Well, we still see it, right? So
Of course, of
because
course.
we have dark web reports and we see it. We have, you have employees that are using your office email address to log into their personal tools, software, access, invoicing, whatever, you name it. If that entity, let's say in this case, Bell, were to get hacked and all of the user credentials are exfiltrated and then sold on the dark web, chances are that a hacker will pick that up, and I think it's a 75% chance that your passwords are very similar. So they may use that to try and get into your business using that access. So what dark web does is it gives you reports in a proactive manner that says, hey, this site, this application was breached. This information is public and is on dark web for sale. You might want to change your passwords across the board, and then maybe change your policy of employees not using company emails for personal use. And the final point is the pen testing. So once a year would be a good recommendation. Simulate an attack. It's get it done with a reputable third-party security firm where they come in and actually perform. They try and hack into your network, and then they can provide you with a report. They will give you the vulnerabilities. They will give you the recommendations on how to fix that and moving forward to better protect you. Now, here's the other segmentation part, the network part. Excuse me. So network segmentation, again, is a way to create a labyrinth in your network. So if a hacker or when a hacker gets into your network, it takes them longer to get in through across the board. And we see a lot of customers that don't have network segmentation. It's instant. The hackers get in, they have instant access across the board. They see everything. Um, Obviously, it's more effective for them, so they get the job done quicker. But if you can segment your network by department, by servers, by applications, by you name it, there's different ways to segment your environment so that it's difficult for the hackers and their tools to get in and actually go through. It won't stop them, but it'll make it longer for them to get the info they're looking, in the hopes that we have all the other tools in place that will warn us that something strange is happening right now. So that's the only goal, is really just to slow things down for hackers. And part of the network segmentation is also the wireless side. A lot of people just buy wireless solutions, they put it in place, they have simple passwords, and that's it. But you need to integrate that with either with your firewall solution, with your anti-virus solution. You need to be authenticating it to your Active Directory, your Entra ID, with your VPN, with your entire network. So in other words, don't just set it up as a separate network. You need to make sure that the people accessing your network are the right people accessing your network, including things like 2FA, MFA. You need to ensure that there's no unauthorized access into your wireless network. Okay, so let's do patch to protect, right? So what's an endpoint? An endpoint is pretty much anything that's on the network: laptops, desktops, phones, servers, IoT devices, very important. And the goal is, excuse me, the goal is to protect your data. So make sure you know everything that's connected to your network, and make sure that you protect everything that's connected to your network. So let's go through some of the tools and practices. Monitoring and alerting. So ensure that there's some kind of an agent that is looking at all of these devices, that there are no rogue devices. So ensure that there's a tool that is scanning on a regular basis to make sure that, hey, I have 20 devices, but my scan sees 21. What's that number? That's that 21st device that's connected. Is it protected? Is there antivirus? Is it my device? Is it a client or a partner that logged in and is here? You have to look at that as well. And if you have the right tools in place to monitor and alert, typically an MSP would have that. Then that's what you need to ensure that you have all of your inventory and all of the endpoints that are connected to your environment. and includes phones as well, right? A lot of employees now are using their phones for email and connecting to network, etc., running applications. You need to make sure that those are protected as well. So how do you protect them? Well, with EDR, endpoint detection and response, the next gen antivirus, as they call it. It doesn't work like the traditional one, where an antivirus, the old school legacy antivirus, is dependent on the manufacturer for a download of a signature file. So vulnerability is detected out there, and manufacturers now have to work on a fix, and then eventually it goes down to your antivirus software. That time frame, what they call it, it's a 0-day attack, obviously. Um, the hackers are working on trying to get into your network at the same time. So what EDR does is on the AI concept, right? It's more intelligent. It actually knows your behavior. It knows what you're supposed to be doing or what you do on a regular basis on your devices. And if it detects something that is out of the ordinary, it can stop that. It can disconnect your device from the network. It can do a few proactive measures, obviously alert your MSP or et cetera, or you, but it's much more intelligent than a typical traditional antivirus. And then patch management, Maria, we had this and the other at seminar, webinar, and I'll say it now because I don't want to say it at the end. It's 20 years I tell customers to make sure that your systems are patched. And I still have conversations with potential new clients, and they have no clue if their devices are up to date or patched. Unacceptable.
Yeah.
You need to get something in place. If it's not a person who's constantly looking at them, you need an MSP to look at that and religiously update your machines. The minute, there's standard updates, and then there's the 0-day updates, and then there's the vulnerabilities. There's a lot of stuff going on here. And the simple click, activate automatic patch downloads and install doesn't work. So, you'll get machines that don't go through, that fail, nobody's looking at them, and next thing you know, that's your point of entry for cyber hackers.
Well, that's what we were saying, right? I mean, it's a basic thing, but and then you say patch management. Oh, that's easy, but it isn't, right? And that's part of
That's
the
right.
problem. So,
Yeah.
but it can't be ignored. It's important to do this and have somebody who knows what they're looking for, so to make sure that the patch worked and that it didn't blue
Yep.
screen a
Yep.
bunch of computers, So yeah.
And now, I guess the next thing that's coming up, but you'll be hearing a lot of this, is the zero trust concept. So in the past, we're accept everything and block what I don't want, and now it's don't accept anything. It's just zero trust. I don't trust anything, and I'll only let what I want. And how that works is really, as an example, if you were to open up a Word file that was sent to you by a colleague or or a client, if that Word file is a letter, well, there shouldn't be a script that goes in onto your network, starts to scan your network, and comes back with some information. Why is it going there? So what Zero Trust does is it actually blocks or contains, I think it's called ring fencing. It contains the applications to what they're supposed to be doing. Now, Word is not supposed to be going on your network to, scan and take a look at a bunch of other files. That's not the purpose unless it's malicious. So what the Zero Trust technology does is it does that. We run something like 30 days worth of behavior and looking at what an environment, what users are doing. And then we establish with our customer, this is the whitelist. These are the apps that are allowed to work within your business. And then we close that off. And any user who happens to go home and wants to download an application, obviously it's going to stop. You get a pop-up. It says you're wishing to install something that is not approved. Would you like someone to approve it? You can make the request, and then it goes back to an approver, right? Usually it's the customer, and then works with our team, and then we test the app, make sure that it's okay, and then it goes through. And if the company decides that that's part of their whitelist, they'll accept it. So that's an example of how the zero trust philosophy works, where trust no one and just let what you need to avoid any issues.
Yeah, it used to be trust but verify. Now is trust no one
Yeah,
and nothing,
exactly.
right? So,
Now, if you have a business where you have employees working on the road a lot and have a worry or a pain or an issue about devices being stolen and data on those devices being taken and copied and used elsewhere, then look at the drive encryption option. It's, you can use BitLocker. It's free with Windows. You just have to put it in place. I mean, it's a good free option. But at least you can't avoid that person, from stealing your laptop. But if they do steal your laptop, it's completely useless to them. And more importantly, that data cannot be taken out and sold and given to somebody else. And then coupled with the pen testing, the vulnerability tests are pretty cool because, as a security firm would be testing, trying to get into your network from the outside, they can actually do a vulnerability test within your network. So they can see what you employees are saving onto their local machines, onto the network, the type of information that is inside. So social insurance numbers, credit card numbers, critical information from your clients that maybe you didn't think was there, but is there. So vulnerability scans are nice because it'll open up your eyes to certain things. You can't control all your employees, but if you can at least have a report, then you're halfway there. And then if you're worried about possible data leaks, someone coming in and doing a mass exfiltration, and a disgruntled employee possibly taking a lot of data going out, then you might want to look at a DLP solution, data loss prevention, that can actually monitor and report on that, and then you can take action as you please. You can actually put preventative measures so it stops them from being able to do certain things. Oh, sorry, double slide here. Okay, because I think we said this, right? Zero trust, drive encryption.
Yeah.
Yes, we're
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So winning the cyber war before it starts, left of boom, being proactive. We've been saying that for many years. I don't like reactive. We hate reactive. As much as you people think that we like service calls to be able to charge you, we don't like service calls. We don't like it. We like for everything to run smooth.
Yeah.
So yeah, proactive more than reactive. Um, you need to involve your employees at every level. Obviously, on the cybersecurity side, it's a company-wide responsibility, so it's no longer the fault of IT department, and it's no longer the responsibility of just your IT department. It is everybody's responsibility. And if you do a top-down way of thinking, right? Strong leadership, clear policies, communicate that information over to your employees. They'll follow you along the way. And again, governance is your core. Knowing what type of data you have and how you're storing it, uh, protecting your endpoint devices, and obviously training your employees to make sure that they help you and be part of that cybersecurity stack that you have in place. And I
Yeah.
believe that
So
is it. Yeah.
yeah, like just to go back to that slide, right? When we talk about left of boom, it's all about identifying, protecting, and detecting, cyber incidents, right? And putting the things in place that will help you do that so that you mitigate risk, right? We keep saying we can't guarantee you 100%, but if we can put, some, ways to make sure that the criminals make it hard, basically
That's right.
making it
Yeah.
hard for them to really get into your systems. And you know then if you do all of that and they still manage to get in, because it's possible, then that's where we go to the writer boom, right? And
And that's
what do
our
you
next
do on
one.
that
Yeah.
side? Yeah.
Yeah. So, you need to have as you need to put as much of this left of boom stuff in place so you don't get to the right. The less of this you have, the more you go to the right. And believe me, you don't want to be on the right. It's an interesting webinar, and I hope you attend it. We'll show you how chaotic it could be when you get hacked. But the goal is not to get to that point. And if you think that you have all of this in place and don't have to worry about the right, and you don't think you have any homework for right, think again, because the next webinar, part 2, will actually tell you what you need to put in place in the event of a cyber incident. You also need to be prepared for that. Otherwise, it's just total chaos.
Yeah, well, exactly, that's what it is being prepared,
Yeah.
right? So all right. So as usual, we do have an ebook for you, as I mentioned at the beginning, and so we encourage you to download the ebook and reach out to your local microage with any questions. There is the link down there, but I put it in the chat so you have it, and you can go and download the ebook from that link in the chat. So the other thing that I keep forgetting to mention, if you want a copy of the presentation, like the PowerPoint presentation, if you go on the webinar tool, there's a section called handouts, and you can go there and you can download a copy of the presentation. We mentioned before our next webinar, which is going to be focusing on the right of boom and talking about the cybersecurity measures that you need to consider and put in place to respond and recover from a cyber incident. Um, we're holding that webinar on June 12th, so have a keep an eye out on your email inbox and our social networks and for the invite for that email. I am not seeing any questions, or if you have any comments, questions, please, go ahead and put it in the questions panel. But if not, Sergio, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to have you on and
Thank you.
have you present to us. So thank you very much.
Thanks.
And thanks to all of you for spending some time with us today. And hopefully, it was a valuable part of your day. And yeah, so we wish you a great rest of the day, and we hope we see you on our next webinar.
Thank
Thank
you,
you very
everyone.
much.